Well, I hope you're ready to have fun. You want to laugh? For this one, we're going to be making some buffalo chicken dip, but we're going to use ground beef. Obviously, if you've seen the title of the video. So we're going to be calling this buffalo beef dip? Buffalo bill dip. I don't know. We'll go with it, but if anybody has any better suggestions, we'll change it later. But for now, I'm just going to add about 1 pound of ground beef to a pan. And I will be using this pan as my serving vessel. So if you want to do this in a pan that you like to cook in, and then put it in like a 6x6 or a 9x9 later, that is also fine. I want all of this in there. I want to get it to start browning. And I want to add some spice to it. So I'm going to use my seasoning, Gator Bite. Add about a teaspoon of that. If you don't want to add spice to it, you don't have to. Just use a couple teaspoons of salt. Just make it spicy. Make the beef taste however you want. I've got mine pretty sufficiently brown. I'd say it's like 90% cooked all the way through. Go ahead and turn the heat off, and there is grease in here. It's surprisingly not nearly as much as I expected with the beef that I usually buy. You can dump this if you want to. I know some people like to eat the fat from the ground beef. Since I'm adding more fat to it, I'm not going to keep this. I'm going to go ahead and dump this real quick. And to make this dip-like, we will be adding some cream cheese. I have about 4 ounces of Philadelphia cream cheese. I'm going to add to it. Just dump it right in there while it's still hot. If you have leftover ground beef and you want to just do this like later, you can either leave your cream cheese out to let it soften, or you can, heat it up in the microwave to soften it. But all we got to do is incorporate this into the beef. Okay, once it's making those good macaroni sounds, we can go ahead and add the buffalo portion of this. And for that, I will be using Crystal hot sauce. If you want to use buffalo sauce, you can literally just add hot sauce and melted butter together, and that's what buffalo sauce really is. But I don't really want to add more fat to this. Like I said, I've already got plenty in there. I'll just start with about a 1/4 cup of my hot sauce and get that mixed in, and we'll give it a little taste to see if it could use more tang to it or not. I'd say so. I'm gonna say that's about a 1/3 cup total of hot sauce. And what hot dip is not complete without way too much cheese in it. So I'm also going to shred in, I don't know, 2.5 ounces of sharp cheddar into this as well and get this mixed in. And then shred over a little bit more over the top. So we could take our dish, put it in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for roughly 10 minutes or until the cheese is melted on top and it's looking nice and bubbly. It's steamy right now. I'm gonna let this rest for a few minutes so I can actually taste it. So I'm just gonna let this rest for a few minutes and then we'll be right back to taste it. And I'm back to taste it. Are you ready? It smells great. It smells like tangy. It smells tangy. It smells tangy. Oh, it also smells a little beefy. So what this is telling me is that anything could be great when you add hot sauce, cream cheese, and cheddar to it. You could probably do this with like any type of meat and it would be fantastic. This is really good with ground beef, so it's a good option. I think it's a good snack to have for like a get together, or if you're really hungry, it'd be a really heavy meal. So yeah, do with that what you will. Do you like something spicy? What about tacos? These are just 2 of the flavors you can get at CarnivoreCompanion.com. There, we sell clean seasoning. It's just salt and spices with no other added weird ingredients or chemicals or dyes or anything like that. What you see on the label is what you're going to get. And if you want to support the channel, it's the best way to do so. Just simply go to CarnivoroCompanion.com. Use the code CarnivorousChef to save 15% off your order and turn your meals from ordinary to extraordinary. Let's get back to the video. Who said that breakfast sausages has to be pork? Why not beef? I don't get it. It can even be chicken if it's fatty enough, if I'm being completely honest. So I've done a recipe for beef breakfast sausage on my Patreon and for my YouTube members. But in that video, I just kind of went with like products that I already have that I make just for the ease of making it, because I knew I could make it taste good with those things. But I also wanted to expound upon it and make a recipe that anyone can make without having to buy my particular seasonings if you don't want to. It would be really cool if you wanted to, but I'm not going to judge you for trying to do that as well. With all that being said, we're going to start with 1 pound of ground beef, and then we have a plate of seasonings right here. To this 1 pound of ground beef, you're going to add 2.5 teaspoons of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Like all my recipes, if there's anything that you want to omit from this, feel free to. This is just a really, really heavily seasoned ground beef, and there's a technique to it that I want to do. Wait, before we keep going, I just remembered I need to add about, a 1/2 teaspoon of red wine vinegar or lemon juice to this. Just add a little tang to it, and I can keep going. So there is a process to making sausage where you mix it and you overmix it really. And what happens is that the fat and the water emulsify. But while you're doing this, it also makes the protein a bit more stiff because you are moving fat and you're making it emulsify with the water. And there's a name for it. I really wish I could remember the name of it. I can't find the book that I found it in. It's in a sausage making book, and I'll put a screenshot of that here if you're interested in a textbook on how to make sausage and charcuterie items. But either way, we're going to mix this until the meat is actually kind of tacky and sticky. It took about a couple minutes to get to that like weird tacky sticky point. And I do want this to sit overnight. You can go ahead and cook this if you want. I want all those flavors to kind of marry and sit together and just get to know each other, because when you give them time to do that, it just makes things taste better in the long run. That's not to say it won't taste good right now, but I want them to be as good as possible. So what I'm gonna do is get some plastic wrap, put it down on my work surface, and I'm gonna get the meat onto there. And I want this to be kind of like a roll of sausage I get at the store, so I'm gonna get it rounded off. We're gonna get it folded up. Just start making it tight. It looks pretty good to me. I want this to be like this because tomorrow it should be firmed up in the fridge. I want to just cut sausage patties out of it. But at minimum, I think 2 hours would be ideal. And I do think they'll be even better overnight. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'll see you in the morning. Oh, well, good morning. It looks like it's time for breakfast. And our nice beef sausage has, firmed up in the fridge. All these flavors should be good to go. So all I'm going to do is take this roll, cut some nice little slices out of it. Now, these aren't the most evenly cut. I'm not sure that I care if they are or not. Just don't forget to remove the plastic. You don't want to eat that part. And it should be looking a bit like this, a little more red than the ground beef was yesterday. But since we got all the patties ready, we can go ahead and start cooking them up. I've just got my pan set over medium heat. I'm just going to let these go until they're probably like a medium, maybe a little bit medium well. So the recipe is just simple. All you got to do now is let it cook to your desired doneness. And it should cook up a bit like this. It shouldn't be burning. There's no sugar in it. There's no like other starches in it. So mine's pretty much done. Let's go ahead and give it a taste. This is looking pretty damn good. The sausage looks like real pork sausage. Got some eggs with it, cooked the eggs in the sausage grease. Not much more I want to say about it. I want to give it a taste by itself first. So my biggest suggestion is that if you do make this, I'll get the higher percentage fat of ground beef. This was 80-20. It's fine. I just wish it was a little more juicy. But if you use the 73-27, that fat's going to emulsify in more with the water and the protein. But the flavors are there. The flavors are like dead on breakfast sausage. So yeah, you can probably tell I don't record this early, talking with my mouth full. Whatever, man. I'm gonna go eat my breakfast. So I like to keep some burger patties around just in case, I need something quick. This usually does the job. Like I can have a couple of these. That's a good meal. I can go on. But sometimes I have these left over and I don't always just want a burger patty. So I thought, what better thing to do with cold beef than to slice it thin and make a roast beef sandwich. To get started, I'm gonna get my burger patties. I'm going to slice them into pretty thin strips. And if they crumble, I'm not that worried about it. I should be able to get more than enough slices to make up for a sandwich. And if you're not the best at doing this, find a friend that's really good at slicing things. All right, so that's the beef slice. This is probably the easiest part. What we need to do next is get some sort of bread made. For my purposes, I'm going to be using my flatbread recipe, which starts with 1 ounce of ground pork rinds or a half cup, because I've had people asking me how many cups of pork rinds are per ounce. And from my research, it's about a half cup per ounce. Add in 2 eggs. And then we want to add in probably an optional half teaspoon of baking powder. I think you will get a little bit of rise out of this flatbread if you don't use it, but if you want like a nice fluffy texture, this is the way to go. So go ahead and fork it like you mean it. And once it's nice and homogeneous, it should be looking a bit like this. What I'm going to do today is actually air fry my flatbread. So I've got one of these parchment liners. If you want to do this in the oven, all you have to do is get a parchment lined baking sheet and you just want to spread this out just like I'm doing right here. And make kind of a rectangle, and yeah, that should be good to go. If you're doing this in the oven, you want to set the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit and put it in there for roughly like 5 or 6 minutes or until it's just set. For me, since I'm doing it in the air fry, I'm going to put mine in at 350 degrees for about 5 minutes or until it is cooked through. This doesn't look as good as it does when I do it in the oven. It almost looks like an omelet out of the air fryer, but it is what it is. I suggest doing it in the oven. It makes a much better bread, in my opinion, but it was worth a shot. We should let this cool off, and while we're doing that, we also need to make a sauce, and not just any kind of sauce. Today I'm feeling horseradishy because I really like a good horseradish sauce with my roast beef, so I'm going to take about a half cup of sour cream, some pure horseradish, whatever that means. I'm probably going to get about a tablespoon, and like always, if you don't want to use the horseradish, you don't have to. Also want about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and like a pinch of black pepper. Give this a good mix. Let's give it a taste. Perfect. Sauce is good to go. You can let it rest for about 10 minutes and it'll intensify in flavor over time. I'm about ready to eat. I haven't eaten today. So let's go ahead and assemble this bad boy. I'm going to cut my bread in half. So I'm going to add some sauce to both sides. And then to one of those sides, I'm going to add some sliced cheddar. And then we can start layering on our beef to another side. And then we're going to go ahead and crown this bad boy. And give you a little close-up of that bad boy. It's looking like a pretty solid sandwich. Let's go and give this sandwich a taste. So yeah, that works out really nicely. The sauce is what actually makes it my idea, because now that I think about it, whenever I have roast beef, it tastes like beef. And that's what the burger patty is doing. It's kind of giving me that roasted beefy flavor, but that sauce kind of adds that reminder. The texture of the bread is damn good as always. It's just a good little balanced sandwich, and you can make it ahead of time. You can keep it cold. You know, just wrap this, put it in your lunchbox. You have a good lunch day. Does anyone else hear that? It's a disclaimer. Oh no, this recipe is gonna be keto-y. It's not gonna be strictly carnivore because it's difficult to do just meat on a video and make it seem very interesting. If you wanna see more videos, I have over 500 at this point. If you don't like keto recipes, I apologize. Comment below. Comment below. All right, enough of that. So what are we even making with this one? Well, we're gonna do some glazed meatballs. I've been wanting something spicy, savory, and a little sweet. Don't hate me, okay? I'm trying my best. But I can mitigate all the factors of, like, I can mitigate a lot of the carbs, but I can't mitigate some of the flavors that I want in this. That being said, the bulk of this recipe is a ground beef. This is 1 pound. So go ahead and start here. We're gonna add in some salt, about a teaspoon's worth, some black pepper, about a 1/4 teaspoon, some onion powder, about a 1/2 teaspoon, and finally, some dried thyme, about a 1/4 teaspoon. You got the season up, let's take some clean hands and just get this mixed up. You don't want to go too crazy with the mixing. If you watched any of my videos before on making meatballs, the more you do this, the tougher the beef will be. Just go until the seasoning looks pretty good and distributed. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside because we need to go ahead and get our glaze ready. Get you a small bowl, and for the spicy portion, I'm going to use sriracha. I'm going to add, I don't know, let's say a 1/4 cup of sriracha to this bowl. And for the savory, I'm going to go with some soy sauce, just about 2 tablespoons worth in there. If you want to use coconut aminos, or feel free to use whatever works for you. And finally, the secret ingredient, which is going to be this brown sugar allulose. It's probably the best sugar substitute I've tasted. Also really like that it says vegan right here. I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of that as well to this, and then just get that mixed up. Should look a bit like this. Should taste savory, sweet, spicy, and a little bit bitter since I'm using the brown sugar version. We can set this aside and we can go ahead and start making the meatballs. And I like to use a nice little cookie scoop to make this easier. Just take a scoop, get it out, roll it around, make sure it's pressed together well. Put it on your plate and repeat. All right, you should be left with about 700,000 meatballs. Let's go ahead and get these seared up in a pan that's set to medium heat. Just add your balls and let them start to sear on one side. And once you can get them off the pan and release them, it's time to flip them. Really shouldn't take too long, maybe about a minute to get to that point. And you should have a nice brown sear on them already. Let's go ahead and get all those flipped. And make sure you're using an oven-safe pan as well. That's an important part of this. Let these go for about another minute or so, and then we can kind of scooch them all together, and then we can put all of our glaze on the top. We're going to turn the heat off. Go ahead and just start spooning your glaze over each meatball. And once they're all covered, I'm going to throw this into an oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 to 12 minutes, or until the meatballs have a nice shiny glaze on top of them. The meatball should also be pretty firm to the touch. And yeah, these are still super hot. My finger's on fire right now. Not sure why I touched it. I'm going to let these rest for about 5 minutes. And while I did that, I went ahead and put my sauce back over the heat so I can get a little thicker. Just add a little extra to the top of it. And this is what we're left with. Just some nicely seasoned meatballs with a good glaze on top of it. They smell fantastic, but let's not stall any longer. Let's give them a little. So if you've ever had the crock-pot meatballs where you add the jelly and the ketchup and all this other just random trash into it, and it actually tastes great, then you'll probably like this. It's obviously not going to be anywhere near that sweet or like hyper palatable. However, the little addition of the allulose, the little spiciness from the sriracha, little flavor from the soy sauce, and all the seasonings and the herb we used in the beef itself, they complement each other so well. But no matter what you do, I think you'll enjoy it.